We're over a month into the 2025 MLB season, and there are a bunch of players around the league that are having career starts to this season and are completely changing their value around the league. So for today's video, I wanted to go through every single MLB team and give you their most surprising players so far to start off the 2025 season in a good way. And like always, if you agree or disagree with anything I said, please let me know down below. And we're going to start off with my favorite team, the New York Mets. This was just another David Stearns masterclass this offseason, pretty much just putting a pile of scraps into a starting rotation that's turned into one of the best in the MLB. But I'm going to choose Griffin Canning here for the Mets nomination. Somebody that had one of the worst ERAs in baseball last year for all qualified starters. In over 170 innings, he had a 5.19 ERA. He led the MLB in earned runs and had just 6.8 strikeouts per nine. This year, he is turning that around completely. He's got a 3.12 ERA across 26 innings throughout his first 5 starts. He's walking a little bit more guys per nine because he's going deeper in games, and he's also striking out 9 per nine, about 2 up from last year. I don't think that Griffin Canning is going to be this good all year long, but if he could be around a sub 4 or a sub 4.2 guy and could just be a solid number 5 pitcher for the New York Mets for basically getting him for nothing in the offseason, this will be another David Stearns masterclass. And so far, he has really turned around the Mets pitching staff, both on the starting rotation and in the bullpen. In each of the 2 years, he's become the new president of baseball operations. I mean, Philly fans have to be thrilled with the start Taijuan Walker has had for them this year, because Aaron Nola has not got off to a good start. Christopher Sanchez recently got hurt, and Ranger Suarez was hurt to start off the year, but Taijuan Walker is actually pitching like a $70 million man, the contract he got from the Phillies back in that 2023 offseason. Through his first 5 starts this year, he's got a 2.7 ERA in 22 innings pitched. The walks are down, the strikeouts are up, and last year he had a 7.1 ERA across 19 games and 15 starts. He was unplayable for the Phillies and was not really going to play at all for them in the playoffs, but this year he's been a reliable starter for them, and he is making $18 million this year. So that is huge for the Phillies that they're getting any production out of him, and he's also making $18 million next year. It's a nice little turnaround for Taijuan Walker in Philly. I really struggle to go with my nominee here for the Atlanta Braves because I feel like a lot of people that are stepping up for them were expected, and there's been a ton of disappointments in Atlanta for sure. I'm going to go with somebody that I think a lot of people expected to break out this year, but I think he is the best nominee, and that is Spencer Schwellenbach, because their starting lineup has been disappointing this year. Same with the overall rotation, like Chris Sale, Bryce Elder, AJ Smith-Sauver, with Chris Sale and Bryce Elder being disappointing. Grant Holmes didn't have a good outing in his last pitching appearance, and Ronaldo Lopez is already hurt to start off the year, as well as Spencer Strider. So I'm going to go with Spencer Schwellenbach, who's been the number 1 for this rotation in 2025. Like I said, he was on a lot of people's breakout players this year, and he's really living up to that hype after having a very strong end to the 2024 season. He did have one bad outing this year against the Blue Jays, but outside of that, he's been rock solid for Atlanta. In 31 innings, he's got a 2.56 ERA. He doesn't walk guys. He produces a lot of ground balls, and his fastball velocity is sitting around a 96, 97 this year. It really looks like he could be a top 3 in this Braves rotation for a long, long time, and him and Spencer Strider, when they're both healthy, can be the Spencer elite duo over there in Atlanta. Not too bad for somebody that was a shortstop in college. I mentioned that the Mets basically got Griffin Canning for free in the offseason. Same thing with Matt Mervis in Miami. Peter Bendix basically traded Vidal Brujan for Matt Mervis, who's gotten off to an amazing power start this season. He's got 7 home runs in 67 at-bats, 14 hits, and he's slugging .552, and that puts him at an 842 OPS. Even if he ends the season with a 750 OPS or above, that's such a good bargain for somebody that really didn't have many expectations after being a failed prospect in Chicago. But I think soon it's going to end up being Augustin Ramirez, who's gotten off to a great start after being included in the Jazz Chisholm trade. You could also give some love to Max Meyer as well in Miami. And then for the Washington Nationals, we're going to talk about another starting pitcher here, and that is going to be Mitchell Parker, who has been one of the best pitchers in baseball to start off the year. He's actually leading the MLB in pitcher WAR at the moment I am recording this video. He's got a 3-1 record with a 1.39 ERA, 5 games, 32 innings, only allowed 5 earned runs so far on the year. He doesn't strike out a ton, but he just gets guys out, and he's going to be a rock-solid 25-year-old pitcher for them this year, and they're starting to build a foundation in that starting rotation over there in the nation's capital with guys like Mitchell Parker, Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin, and then some good pitching prospects waiting in the wings. Ben Rice has been everything the Yankees wanted Greg Bird to be over time. He has been one of the best hitters in the American League this year and has been a nice complementary bat to Aaron Judge. He's no Juan Soto, but he's getting off to an even better start this year as Juan Soto has. He's got a 282 batting average, a 391 OBP, a 590 slugging percentage, and a 181 OPS plus, 6 home runs in his first 92 plate appearances. And I'm really intrigued to see what his long-term positional fit is going to be on the Yankees. He's somebody that spent some time as a catcher and a first baseman. Right now, they do have Austin Wells and Paul Goldschmidt as the starters there. So when Giancarlo Stanton comes back and is going to be the primary DH, they can't remove Ben Rice from this lineup. He's been too valuable. Man, shout out to Trevor Story having finally a good year in Boston. It's not been off to a good start after the Red Sox and Chaim Bloom gave him a lot of money back in the 2022 offseason. He only appeared in 43 games in his first year in 2023, 26 games in 2024, all due to injury. But this year, he's already eclipsed the WAR seasons he's had in 23 and 24. Through 116 plate appearances, he's got a 282 batting average, a 436 slugging percentage, and 114 OPS plus. And it's nice to see the Red Sox are finally giving value to a player they gave over $100 million to a few years ago. Man, I was out on Cedric Mullins over there in Baltimore. I thought he was going to get passed by a ton of different bats there, and I honestly thought he was going to get traded by the Orioles in the offseason, but he's been one of their lone bright spots this year, with the starting rotation being somewhat of a mess, and a lot of guys disappointing in that lineup like Adley Rutschman, Ryan Mountcastle, Jackson Holliday, Gunnar Henderson, Heston Kjerstad, Tyler O'Neill. A lot of these guys have not lived up to their expectations, even Jordan Westburg as well, but Cedric Mullins has been the best bat in this Baltimore Orioles lineup, and he's giving them good value in center field as well. He's already got 5 stolen bases on the year, 6 home runs, and 107 plate appearances. He's already eclipsed 1 B-WAR, and he has 186 OPS plus. He's on pace to being another all-star this year for the first time since 2021, where he had over 6 WAR that season. He's peaking at the perfect time right now because he's going to be a free agent at the end of the 2025 season. Kind of a similar trend for some guys here in the AL East. We're going to talk about George Springer for the Toronto Blue Jays, another lineup that has been underwhelming this year with guys like Vladdy not living up to his expectations that are very high. Alejandro Kirk's been off to a rough start. Same with Bo Bichette and Anthony Santander. But George Springer is turning back the clocks here as a 35-year-old and is off to one of his best starts maybe since his first year in Toronto back in 2021. Through 86 plate appearances, he's got a 329 batting average still, a 412 OBP, and a 932 OPS with a 169 OPS plus. He's walking a ton to start off this season. He's just getting on base, and that is super valuable for somebody at 35 years old that we thought would maybe be DFA'd at one point this year because it looked like he was getting to the twilight end of his career. He's making $24 million this year, $24 million next year, and I wonder if it would be wise for the Toronto Blue Jays to capitalize on this hot start from George Springer at the 2025 trade deadline if they're going to stay around 500 at that point. I feel like every single year we get a Tampa Bay Ray that just also breaks out of nowhere. You could go with 2 different guys this year in the lineup. You could talk about Jonathan Aranda, but I'm going to talk about Cameron Meisner, a former Miami Marlins prospect that failed over there, and he was a first-round pick back in 2019. He was traded for Joey Wendell in that 2021 season. He's off to a red-hot start as well. He's got 3 home runs in his first 69 at-bats. He's got a 377 OBP, a 594 slugging, and he also has an OPS plus at a 176. Yeah, this is a great start for an outfielder because this team has had some injuries this year with Josh Lowe already being banged up. And this outfield for the Rays has been pretty solid this year with Christopher Morel, Cam Meisner, and Jake Magnum all being productive players for them at the moment. You could also give some love to Shane Baz or Drew Rasmussen as well, but I think we could have expected that a little bit more than Cameron Meisner over there in Tampa Bay. I mean, are you surprised? A lot of Seattle Mariners can hit this year, but shout out to them being at the top of the AL West at the moment. But somebody that has been hitting for them this year, Jorge Polanco. Jorge Polanco was picked up from the Minnesota Twins in that 2023 offseason, and he had a very down year in his first one in Seattle. He went from a 789 OPS in 2023 to just a 650 OPS in 2024. But this year, he's off to a red hot start for the Seattle Mariners. He already has 7 home runs on the year, 18 RBIs, and he's got an over 1,000 OPS at the moment I'm recording this, and a 221 OPS plus, which is not going to stay there throughout the year. But if they can get anything to what Jorge Polanco was for the Twins back in 2019 when he was an all-star and got some MVP votes, that would be a home run and way more than they expected this year after the down year last year. Not a lot of different guys you can go here for the LA Angels, but I'm going to go with Kyron Paris, who's been a pleasant surprise this year. The 23-year-old second baseman has an OPS over 860, which puts him as the second best OPS on the team outside of Zach Neto. He already has 5 home runs on the year and 5 stolen bases as well, and if they can even just get similar production throughout the rest of the season, I think they found their long-term second baseman, and that infield is going to get really rounded out with Christian Moore coming up very soon, Noah Shanuel, and Zach Neto back fully healthy. I've harped on the lack of bats in Seattle and Baltimore, but it's much worse what's going on in Houston right now. Nobody has an OPS above 760. Only one person has an OPS in the 700s at the moment I'm recording this, and that's Isaac Paredes. So I'm not going to go with the batter over there in Houston. I'm going to go with the pitcher, and that's going to be Hayden Wesneski, the 27-year-old that came over in the offseason in the Kyle Tucker trade. Everybody wants to talk about Isaac Paredes or Cam Smith, but Wesneski was also in this deal, and he's been the second best pitcher in Houston to start off the year outside of Hunter Brown. He's got a 3.86 ERA across 28 innings. And if they're going to get like 4 or 5 starter numbers out of Wisniewski, that's just a steal for somebody that was a throw-in in this deal. Nobody really thought about him, and he was more so an afterthought when they traded away Kyle Tucker. I think a lot of people expected what Wyatt Langford could do this year, so I'm not really going to talk about him too much for the Texas Rangers. We're going to talk about a pitcher who's arguably been the best pitcher in baseball, and that is Tyler Mahle. Now, Mahle's been a relatively consistent pitcher throughout most of his career. He signed as a free agent with the Rangers in December of 2023, but missed most of the last 3 seasons due to injury. But he was a really good pitcher in Cincinnati, and he's reverting to that form back this year. He's got a 1.14 ERA right now, which leads the MLB. He's 3-0 in 31 innings pitched. He's got an ERA plus of over 330, and he has yet to allow a home run this season. And I feel like the Rangers as a team this year have such a wide variance. They can end up being a team that competes for a World Series this year, or they could finish a team that doesn't even make the playoffs, and it really depends on how their starting rotation is going to look. DeGrom looks fine. Evaldi looks fine. Kumar Rocker, not so much. But if they can get number 2 numbers out of Tyler Mahle, that is just a home run, and they're playing with house money with him this season. I love watching the A's this year, the no designation city A's, and a big reason why, Tyler Soderstrom. And there's just so many fun bats in this A's lineup. You could talk about Shea Langoliers. You're going to talk about Jacob Wilson, JJ Bleday, Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker. Nick Kurtz just got called up, and then Max Muncy hasn't even gone hot yet, but Soderstrom has been one of the best power bats in the MLB right now. He's got 9 home runs on the year, leading the majors. He's got a 365 OBP. He's slugging over 600. He's got a 967 OPS. And for somebody that was a first round back in 2020 and was going to be called up as a catcher, but then they got Langoliers in that Matt Olson trade, he's been a great corner infielder so far, and he's just 23 years old. One of the more consistent bats this year for the LA Dodgers has to be Tommy Edman, who they got for basically Miguel Vargas in a 3-team trade last year with the White Sox and the St. Louis Cardinals, which sent Eric Fedde to St. Louis. And Edman has just been a great utility bat and was a big part why they won the World Series in 2024. They extended him, and he has an 822 OPS to start off this year's season, which is the highest of his career, a 132 OPS plus. He already has 8 home runs on the year as well, which is amazing for the utility bat because he could play all over. He could play short. He could play second base. He could play a corner outfielder. He could play center field for you, and that is extremely valuable, and the Dodgers just did it again. He's just a complimentary bat to Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. You couldn't ask for a better complimentary bat than Tommy Edman this season. But don't look now, but the Giants are at the top of the loaded NL West at the moment, and a big reason why is Jung-Ho Lee. And unfortunately suffered a season-ending injury 37 games into the year. This year, he's already almost at 2 WAR right now because he can play a good center field. He's leading the MLB in doubles at the moment with 11 so far on the year. He's walking a ton, and he's batting 327, and his contract is about to get very expensive very soon. So this is huge for the San Francisco Giants that Jung-Ho Lee is breaking out as a 26-year-old, and he also has a few stolen bases on the season as well, and has been the best hitter for a Giants team that is at the top of the NL West. We were all questioning the depth of the San Diego Padres rotation, but then they made a nice signing late in the offseason and basically deferred all of the money. He's not getting paid anything this year against their cap. It's $1.7 million this year, up to $19.7 million next year, and that is Nick Pivetta, who's also been one of the best pitchers in baseball, like Tyler Mahle and Mitchell Parker that I've mentioned in this video. He's got a 1.2 ERA in 5 games this year in 30 innings pitched. He doesn't walk guys, and he's been striking out basically 9 per 9. And this is a big year for the San Diego Padres as well, as they're off to a very good start, as Dylan Cease has been struggling to start off the year, but King and Pivetta have been really rock solid top 2 options for the San Diego Padres, and it's nice to know that Pivetta is under contract for the next few years. The Arizona Diamondbacks are playing solid ball this year, and they've had some few injuries and underwhelming pitching performances, but yeah, they're just in that loaded NL West. But a big bat for them this year has been Pavin Smith. The 29-year-old DH has a 348 batting average, OBP, and he has an OPS plus above 200 right now. He's got 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, and 82 plate appearances. And this Diamondbacks lineup has been very good this year with already an injury to Ketel Marte, because guys like Josh Naylor, Geraldo Perdomo, Eugenio Suarez, and Corbin Carroll have all been productive bats for them this year. And finally, Alec Thomas is having a good year as well, who was a former top prospect not too long ago. But yeah, with everything going on at the top of the NL West, it's one of the best divisions in baseball. They also have one of the worst teams in the MLB as well, and that is the Colorado Rockies, who are off to a 4-22 start. And it's because a lot of their bats have not been good this year, outside of Brendan Doyle and my nomination here, Jordan Beck, who got called up last year later in the season, and he struggled. He had a 41 OPS plus, a 521 OPS, and he had a batting batting average of 188, but this year he's been getting very hot very recently, where he had a home run against Kansas City, followed that up with 2 home runs against Kansas City, and then also just hit 2 home runs against Cincinnati. He's got 5 home runs on the year, 9 RBIs, a 360 OBP, and he has over a 1,000 OPS right now, and is still just 24 years old and will be throughout the whole 2025 season. At the top of the AL Central right now, you got the Detroit Tigers. I could definitely talk about Spencer Torkelson, a former #1 overall pick that really struggled but is finally breaking out this season. Or I can give some love to Zach McKinstry as well, but I also want to just give some love to Casey Mize, who's been up there as one of the best pitchers in baseball, and that is just another great arm to a loaded Tigers rotation right now, because you got Tariq Skubal, who was the best pitcher in baseball last year and won the AL Cy Young Award. You got Jack Flaherty, who's off to a good start. Same with Reese Olson and top prospect Jackson Jobe, but Casey Mize has been maybe the best pitcher so far, or at least the most impressive pitcher for the Tigers. He did not play at all in 2023 with an injury. 2024, he was a little bit shaky, but definitely showed some promise in over 100 innings. But this year, throughout 29 innings, he's got a 2.12 ERA. He's not walking guys at all, and he's producing a ton of ground balls. I do wonder if he's going to regress a little bit throughout the year, or could we expect a sub-3 ERA from Casey Mize? And if so, this Tigers rotation could become one of the best in the league, up there with Seattle, Philadelphia, the Dodgers, and I guess right now the Mets. Somehow they have a top rotation in baseball. For the Guardians, I'm going to go with Logan Allen, another team this year that's had some disappointing bats, but they are getting hot as of late. The rotation, I would say, has been more disappointing besides Logan Allen. Ben Lively, Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams all have an ERA above a 4 right now, but Logan Allen, the lefty, off to a very good start at 26 years old. He was a productive player for the Guardians in 2023, but struggled last year with a 5.73 ERA in 20 starts. But this year, the left-hander in 21 innings has a 2.11 ERA and an ERA plus above 180. Another breakout pitcher here in the American League Central. We are going to talk about Chris Bubich for the Kansas City Royals. They traded away Brady Singer for Jonathan India in the offseason, and Bubich has arguably been the best starter, better than Lugo, Waka, Cole Reagans right now. And that is huge for the Royals throughout the year, because Bubich is still just 27 years old. He's had some bad years in the league, so it's nice to see that his confidence is getting better and he's becoming more consistent. Right now at 31 innings, he has a 1.45 ERA, over 30 strikeouts already, and has only allowed 5 earned runs this year, and it's turning into one of the best left-handed pitchers in the league. I really struggled on who I wanted to pick here for the Minnesota Twins, because really their only surprising bat is maybe Matt Wallner, and I would say their starting rotation really hasn't been too impressive either. So I'm actually going to talk about Louis Varland, my first reliever in this video, somebody that has a 2.57 ERA and already 14 appearances this year in 14 innings. He was a failed starter last year where he had a 7.61 ERA, and Varland is producing a ton of chase right now. He's at 37% on the year, which puts him in the 95 percentile of MLB pitchers in 2025. And this is turning into a nice little bullpen here in Minnesota, with the rotation not being great. And I know Griffin Jackson is off to a terrible start, but Varland's been a nice setup man to Johan Duran. Also, not a ton of impressive players over there in Chicago as expected for the White Sox, but we got to talk about Shane Smith. Through 5 starts this year, he's got a 2.3 ERA in 27 innings. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but he does not allow home runs. He's got over a 1.70 ERA plus, and he's still just 25 years old. A lot of impressive bats so far this year for the Chicago Cubs. The one I'm going to go with is Carson Kelly, who's turning into one of the best offensive catchers in the MLB. He's already hit for the cycle this year, and he's already eclipsed over 1.4 WAR in 2025. He's got a 341 batting average, a 517 OBP, and an 854 slugging percentage. He has an OPS at a 1.371 right now, 6 home runs, 18 RBIs, and if he could just give them half of these numbers this year, that's still a productive offensive bat to one of the best offenses in baseball that's been lighting up the scoreboard, with guys like Michael Busch, Ian Happ, Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, and Seiya Suzuki all off to great starts this season. For the Cincinnati Reds, we're going to talk about the top prospect that was in the Luis Castillo trade, and that is Noelvi Marte. The third baseman could be on his way to getting an all-star appearance here in 2025. He's off to a red-hot start. He has an OBP at 381. He's got 3 home runs and 12 RBIs in 42 plate appearances. And Marte had a very disappointing 2024 season and was dinked with a suspension as well. But he was once a top prospect. He is still just 23 years old. This could be a true breakout season for Marte. And then the Reds would have one of the more exciting left-sided infields in the MLB with Marte and Ellie De La Cruz. I was not high on the Milwaukee Brewers going into this year. They've had some exciting bats, and they've also had some disappointing bats. I'm going to talk about a pitcher, actually, and we're going to mention arguably their second best pitcher this year for a rotation that's been very banged up. We're going to talk about Chad Patrick. The 26-year-old right-hander is a rookie this season, and he's been a good pitcher for them. In 25 innings, he's got a 2.45 ERA, and that could be crucial for a team this year that doesn't have Brandon Woodruff at the moment. Tobias Myers is hurt, who was a breakout player last year, and they've even had to make a trade for Quinn Priester this year, but shout out to Jose Quintana Quintana, who's still doing it at 36 years old for the Brew Crew. For the St. Louis Cardinals, I want to talk about one of my favorite batters right now that's under the age of 30, Brendan Donovan, who's finally breaking out for this team as a full-time starter. He's kind of been a pseudo utility man for them over the last few years with guys like Tommy Edman there as well. And Donovan is leading the MLB in batting average right now with all qualified hitters at a 3.67. He's got a 9.46 OPS, and he's also been dealing with a little bit of an injury this year, but is still powering through to being one of the more valuable second basemen in the league and could be an all-star in 2025. And then for the Pittsburgh Pirates, another disappointing lineup this year outside of O'Neal Cruz, Joey Bart, and maybe Brian Reynolds, who's heating up as of late. So we are going to talk about a starter. No, it's not Paul Skeens or Mitch Keller. It's actually going to be Andrew Heaney, the 34-year-old in 5 starts this year, has a 1.72 ERA in 31 innings. And if he can keep this up, he's going to be a very popular trade piece at the deadline. We saw what Yusei Kikuchi went for last year when he got traded from the Toronto Blue Jays to the Houston Astros. We could see a version of that this year with the Pittsburgh Pirates in a seller's market, sell high on Andrew Heaney. So that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know if you agree with or disagree with any of your favorite teams nominations that I talked about in this video. And while you're still here, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you are not already for more baseball content all season long, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.